This week, the TIE Fighters do a flyby of the X-Wings, and I'll show you my lighting screw-up. Okay, here we are, and the first thing you may notice is I found my Death Star materials. To make a long story short, I used to keep all of these files on my desktop in a folder, and when I was done with this project, I offloaded them into Dropbox. And when I was trying to work out of Dropbox, I couldn't find my materials, but I dragged them all back to my desktop and they were all found. The reason that is because Blender looks for files wherever you put them, and if you move them, it can't find them. So figure out your file structure and never change it, and you won't have any of my problems. So that's the first order of business. Now let's break down this shot. As you can see, our two TIE Fighters are flying back the red Leader's X-Wing. And what I did when I made this short, because I have two nieces, I wanted to treat them equally, I basically mirror and do similar shots for each of them, varying it a little bit so I didn't get bored and it was more visually interesting. Looking at this, I parented my camera to the X-Wing. The X-Wing itself has two keyframes just to keep it moving, and the camera has multiple keyframes in order to keep the TIE Fighters in the viewport, or in the camera shot, if you will. And the TIE Fighters themselves, just two keyframes. So this was sort of a simple shot once I learned how to parent and do all that fun stuff. If we go down here and zoom in on my TIE Fighters, you're going to notice somehow I screwed up the lights. The lights are not looking at the TIE Fighters like the last shot. So as you can see here, as we look at our TIE Fighters with the lighting that I had done, somehow I flattened out the area lights that were illuminating them. But it still seemed to work. You can still see them as they fly through space, which is all I cared about. And so however I messed that up or whatever I did, they still seem to work and illuminate my TIE Fighters. So as you go through and make mistakes, as long as stuff seems to work, sometimes maybe just let it go and move on to the next thing, because at some point you may come across something and learn something as you go. Be kind to yourself. If it works and it's not perfect, it's good enough. So that's it for this shot. Let's go on and look at the blue Leaders TIE Fighters that are going to attack. So as I was saying, I like to do each shot a little differently, just so it's not boring for me or the viewer. A lot of the similarities, if you look at, let's go down to, where are we looking at here? That's my X-Wing. My X-Wing, once again, two keyframes, super simple. Camera, again, is parented to the X-Wing. It has multiple keyframes. What did I do there? I did something funky and decided not to use it. So just two keyframes. And the TIE Fighters themselves, let's take a look at them, see if I have the same problem as the other TIE Fighters. No, these TIE Fighters, the lights are correct. So I don't know what I did on the last shot, but on this shot, the lights are correct. And let me get in there and see my TIE Fighters. Let me get a hold of their empty. Yep, once again, just two keyframes for these TIE Fighters. So, and if you look up here, you'll notice my R2 unit spins its head. So come on, there you are. I separated my R2 unit into two parts, and this way I could take the head and swivel it and make my R2 unit watch the TIE Fighters fly by. You'll notice once we get into the trench, you'll notice my R2 units are constantly spinning their head to be on the lookout for danger. That's it for this shot. Pretty simple. Couple of keyframes on each, and just controlling my camera in order to keep everything in frame. Next week, dogfights. And I use follow path for the first time. I'll see you then.